Hello and welcome to part one of Rio Grand River above Creede, Colorado. I was there last week, spent 6 days painting with my plein air friends, and we had a blast. And I still have sunburned lips. Okay, enough about that. So what we're doing this time is working and making a bigger painting from our field sketches called plein air paintings. So as you can see, here's my little field sketch, and I have that probably, I'll be putting that up on your screen as I paint, and you can see how I follow along and work with that. It's much better for me to work from my own field sketches because I've got my eye trained to what's really going on out there as I see it and not as some camera interprets it to be. So that's the advantage of going out there and making a field sketch. All right, Blocking was trying to fill this whole thing in with value colors, and you can see it's pretty sloppy, but you know, this is a Blocking. We're just trying to figure out where the value shapes are going to be and take our best stab at that. So they're basically base colors. Stop it! My cat is scratching my furniture. Studio cat. All right, get outside and paint. Paint with your friends, get critiques, and don't be intimidated by a white canvas. All right, let's start painting. Bye-bye. Hey, good morning and welcome to part one of the San Juan River above Creede, Colorado. Last week I was in Creede painting with my painting crew, our plein air group, and we just had a wonderful time. This area above Creede is just a really special place. I think the valleys are wider there on the Rio Grande, and maybe because of glacial whatever. And up here they're tighter, up in northern Colorado. But down there they're really wide. What a beautiful area and a wide river too. Still, even up there, the Rio Grande is pretty large. Now, what we're doing today is painting from an oil sketch, which you see on the side of your screen. And this is a 9x12, I believe, that I did right there at bridge number 2. They call it 7 Mile Bridge in town because it's 7 miles away from town or somewhere around like that. And that's where I was. The area I had to kind of squish it a little bit because I put it on more of a rectangle instead of a horizontal, and so there's some changes there. I kind of squished it a little bit, and so you're going to have to go with me a little bit on this because I think the composition is going to work, but what you lose by not expanding the painting is the feeling of vastness. So if you want to go on a 10x20 or a 12x18, all the better. This will be a 3 to 4 part series this week, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take to get her done. Today is Blocking. I want to try to figure out where the major value shapes are. I want to keep the paint thin, keep that in mind, and let's go with that. Now the thing I forgot to do was get my gloves on, so that's what I'm doing. Anytime I'm doing anything that doesn't take any smarts, I get back and look at my reference and try to figure out where I'm going to go with this. I wish every time I could go out in the field, do an oil sketch or a plein air, as they say, and then come back and do it like we're doing here today. Because being out in nature is just such a, well, it gets those creative juices going. Plus, you really get to see the real deal and not some interpretation that a camera or a computer device makes the changes for you. I still have my brushes left over from the trip. I just got back a couple days ago, and I haven't painted for those couple days. So let's get organized. All right, so first of all, I want to try to get something that's kind of a drawing brush, I call it. I usually get a worn out something or other that's a little stiff. So let's see what I got. I'm going to choose a, looks like just a Rosemary number 2, 2025. It's a little bit of the stiffer variety. Or, that might work, okay. Something in that area. Okay. So, let's make a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow ochre, and a little bit of transparent oxide brown. No white. What am I thinking? Stay away from the white. White just takes a long time to dry. So I'm going to thin it out a little bit. A little bit of Naples. I don't have to make it real strong. And let's figure out some sort of a starting area foundation. So I'm going to choose right in here, right in above center of where my starting point's going to be. Somewhere in here. And then I'm going to have a river that comes out below there, down into here. And then I'm going to have one that goes over in here, tree here, tree here. It looks like I've got islands here and here. The water going around the side of it. And I'm going to reduce the size of the water, so I'm going to bring everything down. And just have less water than my reference has. And then I have some big honking trees right over in here, kind of coming down to the bank. And that's what these would be. Then I have some others over here that kind of come closer. And then another here, others here. And this tree I'm going to put a little bit of a lean on. And now I'm putting some sort of a horizon, or where the top of the mountain is. And there's some of these wonderful cliffs up in here. And I'll put those up in there. Every afternoon we had showers that would chase us from our painting spots. And then we would go back and paint the next day or later that evening. There's many levels of these trees coming down with this big contrast with the drier grass. And that's going to be up in here. So let's figure out where island number 1 is going to be, which will be somewhere in here. And island number 2 is going to be in here. Here's 1 and here's 2. All right. I want to get a little bit more distinct on where the trees are going to be, so I'm adding more blue, yellow ochre, a little bit of Naples, a little bit of Naples. And there's a big triangle, big area right in here that comes down. Put a little bit more sky in. Somewhere up in here. And then above that is another area that comes down way out here. And somewhere out in there. And then there are trees up in this area also. I'm going to change brushes and work on the volume and the size of the pine trees in the foreground. When I was out painting, I used real turpentine, which is really great for cleaning brushes, and it's a great solvent. People have been using it for hundreds of years, but if you do it in the studio, it chokes you up. It's just so strong. Okay, so what am I going to use? I'm going to choose a number 4 rosemary, and I'm going to make the mixture now of ultra, little alizarin, ultra, alizarin, and transparent oxide brown, a little bit of viridian. I have 2 types of viridian out today. One is the old Rotgut student grade. It's just wonderful. Winton Viridian Hue. It's just real inexpensive. You can't say cheap anymore. And the other one is this Viridian by Rembrandt. It's really nice. It's Rembrandt 616 Viridian. Anyway, I like them both. I have one more green, and that is emerald green here, and it's by Gamblin, emerald green. So those are my 3 greens today. Okay, let's get into this darker mixture. I think it's a little too dark, so I'm going to add some more viridian from the Gamblin, and then I'm going to add some more yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. I just don't want the black. I want to get a little bit more of the dull green in there. That should do it. A little bit more yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. And I'll add just a little bit of solvent. I'm using Gamsol, of course. I love leaning trees over rivers. I'm probably increasing the one here. And I think we have a couple more here. And I'll put another one up in here somewhere. I want to try to get enough body of the tree where it's just, I don't have too much of the canvas showing through. So when you have something like that, see a whole bunch of canvas is coming through, I want to get a little bit more solid like that. I think I put 2 trees here. And just a little bit of Gamsol goes a long way. And let's see, we have some little guys back in there. And then a bigger bunch right in here. And then we'll have our tree placements. Oh, that's a little too big. Thank you. Take that back. And I think we have a single here. I was actually in the shade painting this under the bridge, looking out. Cars were passing over the top of me. And then we're going to have the bank of the other bank over here with a few trees. I think more trees over here. I don't know what that glob is there. Okay, so we're putting shapes, and now we put values in shapes. And if there's any other places, let's get our darks in where we need to do it. I think we need to have some darks under the island here, and we'll put some on the edge of the bank here too. And we have bank number 2, I think, over in here. Somewhere here. Try to get it. It's hard to get a sharp edge on this brush. It's kind of flared out, but it's working. I can still get some mileage out of this. What is this? A 279. I like 279s. They're soft. When I first started painting, my first teacher was a student of Richard Schmidt when he lived up here in Risk Canyon area. And I didn't know who Richard Schmidt was. Yeah, anyway, if you don't, he's one of those famous guys passed on. An excellent painter. Wrote, I think his first big book was Alla Prima. And she kept talking about how Richard Schmidt was, and I was looking at his materials and so forth. And he had these soft brushes, and I just couldn't get a handle on them. But now I really, really like them. All right, so let's get some, since we're in the darks, let's get some lighter greens going here. So we're going to do ultra and more yellow ochre, starting that with a base. Kind of working from what we have. And as you can see, it is a little too yellow ochre. Let's add some color to that. And so we're going to go into some Remington 616 Viridian. And it just gives it a little bit more green. And that's too much green, so let's knock it down with a little bit more yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. I want the painting to be balanced. I'm going to put some cobalt in it. And to go back. So if I use the same value as this, it'll come forward. So you want something that's softer, lighter in value. And I'm cleaning this brush out and using the same brush because we're still in basically the same neighborhood. Probably need a bigger brush and a lot more product. Too green. I'm going to add a little bit more ultra and a little bit more red to it. I think that will probably be a little better. Adding more yellow ochre now. And I'm going to change brushes. This is just too small for the size. I think I started my timer. Man, we're more than halfway through. I better stop talking and get busy here. So I'm going to use this number 10 Master Touch from Hobby Lobby or someplace like that. And I'm going to get some up in here too. So you kind of get the idea of where I'm going with this. And I also need some along the banks, I think. And let's next get another big area. Oh, I've got some more places I might want to go a little darker now. This area right in here is another. I did a little more blue, a little darker than the stuff above it. It's another area with trees coming across and, oh, that's a little too dark. And I think we have trees coming up in here somewhere. I might put another tree over on this side too. On the right. Just to fill that in. Okay. Let's get the river. And keep in touch with what is going on with the timer. I'm going to stay with my big brush. Let's see what I can do here. I can probably use this. I'm going to go in with a dark gray. That's too dark. I'm going to go with a light gray. I'm going to add a little blue and a little brown. Blue, ultra. And let's put a base color down. Let me get back and see if I'm making any major mistakes here and see from a perspective of how I'm doing. So far, so good. Now, let me take a sip of my coffee. And get ready for the river color. So let's go back to a number 10 brush and slop it up with some Gamsol in here and just really lay it in. I'm going to wipe it down here in just a second, but it's a base color. And we're going to paint on top of that with some sky color to make it look like water. And we'll put some reflections in it also. I really like working from my own work instead of a photographic reference. Okay. Let that set in there a little bit. And then I'll wipe it down with a paper towel here in a second. And let me get to that paper towel thing that I've been talking about. Get this gray out of the way. And I'll get a paper towel and come up here and just take some of that out. Thinning it down. Sorry, I have my shoulder in the way. There. I almost wiped out my islands, but I can still see some dark lines of where I think that stuff's supposed to be. All right, let's get the warm color in here. Okay, so let's go with some Naples. And a little bit of Hansa Deep. And of course some white. Hansa. All right. Let's get a big brush again, go back to the old number 10, and we have 7 minutes left. Again, I'm going to go real light. Means I'm going to get some Gamsol in here and start filling in my light areas. Just whacking it in there. Trying to be a little careful here, but also trying to move along smartly. It's also a good way to loosen your edges too. I'm getting contamination, and I just remix, try to get the contamination out of the mixture, which makes the rest of the mixture a little darker, but so it is. Let's see, this should go up maybe a little bit farther. There's some yellows up in there too. And then the last thing we'll do is the sky. I have some canvas sneaking through here, and I will get to that off camera. But because of time, we are going to work on the sky for blocking. There's many ways to start a painting. This is just one common way that many painters use. All right, so cerulean is good. I'm going to use manganese blue U. Let's try that today. Cerulean is good. Sevres blue is good. I'm using manganese blue U by Gamblin. And some white. Okay, I have a nice clean palette knife. And I'm going to get some clean white. And I'll get the clouds later, but for now, let's do this. The green, so I'm going to really clean this brush a little bit better. Today I'm experimenting with 2 cups of Gamsol. This is my dirty, this is my clean. Try to clean the brush first in the dirty and then go to the clean. All right, that should be good for now. And there's these cliffs that can barely be seen, but I like them so much I accented them just a little bit more than they actually are, because that is what we call artistic license. So let's make a mixture for that, and I think we've about got this thing blocked in. It's working me hard today. Okay, so let's go with some transparent oxide red and some white. Transparent oxide red, white, and let's go down with some maples to knock it down. Let me see if that's going to work. Too light, back to transparent oxide red, transparent oxide red. Let me try this. Too dark. Back to Naples, 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 a bit of white. Just kind of whack her in there. What I like about blocking, it's so freeing, you know, I'm not in there with the small 2-hair brush and getting it all exact. Just working it up there. All right, that's done. And since I have a few minutes left, I'll go back to my yellow and start filling in some of these gaps around, where the canvas is peeking out. And that is blocking. Thank you so much for coming by. See you in part 2 of the Rio Grande above Creed. All right.